This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview.
Joining us today is Paul Johnson, the CEO of Power Metal Resources. Following the announcement that you are planning to drill, aren't you, at Molopo? You said you were going to accelerate the program, Paul, and it wasn't going to be a quiet summer. And now it looks like you've appointed the drillers and you've got the dates booked in. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. We said that when we found that very significant conductor under K16 in Botswana at the Molopo Farms Complex project, it was then on an expedited pathway into drilling. And these things don't happen easily sometimes. And there's a lot of work goes into preparing drill programs, doing the contractual documentation, signing things up. And we were able to complete that over the weekend. So this morning, we announced the drill contract had been signed with a few interesting elements to that contract.
Well, tell us about those interesting elements. I note it's with Mindaya, who are a very well-known investors in Kavango Resources will be familiar with this company. Ben Turney always speaks very highly of them. Very experienced operators in the region. And again, with Pow, they've taken some of the cost in cash, some of the cost in shares. So that must mean that they are also equally as confident or excited, let's say, of the potential here?
Well, Mindaya are increasingly well known. Junior companies generally don't do 500 meter holes. They usually shy away and do a bit of surface sampling. We've been cracking on with deep drill programs for quite some time. We're used to it. We know the importance of a highly qualified, capable contractor to get the job done. This is difficult work. Mindaya are very capable of doing this, and we're delighted to have them on board. The fact that they were prepared to take over half the cost of the drill contract, as estimated in stock, Power Metal stock, at I think it was a 43% premium to the price at the Friday close. So 2.25 pence a share is a tremendous endorsement, and it comes on the back of them visiting site, looking at our plans in detail, looking at the previous drill program that was undertaken, including K16, inspecting the K16 core, dealing with all the local parties that we have to deal with, the stakeholders. So we're absolutely delighted that after that process, they decided to take a significant amount of the project risk effectively on board with us. And I hope they end up making a vast amount of money from it with a successful drill program.
Yes, indeed. So you've gone through some of the targets and already with Mindaya. I note that you are going to be expecting to drill 6 drill holes with 2 targeting that T16, which is the big target, let's say. If the drilling contract is signed, you're ready to go, and Mindaya are feeling confident, how much more planning do you have to do to really target this now that you've got the date ready? Are you going to maximize the use of the time from now up until that point to make sure that you really, you're hitting these targets well targeted effectively?
Well, there isn't an awful lot of time until mobilization, in fairness, very little time, in fact. But we've had the additional geophysics program running for a little while now. We announced that recently. So there's more geophysical surveys being undertaken over the target 16, over target 114, and over the new targets, that's T13 and T23. That sounds a bit familiar, doesn't it? Now to say it again. And we'll be producing further information from that work. May well be announcing, and probably will be announcing, the findings of that work as well. So people who were inspired by the previous geophysics that we announced earlier on in August will hopefully get the same kind of inspiration from the new geophysics update. We are finally looking at the precise targeting of the holes, although we're pretty sure we're in the T16 area into that big conductor that you see from previous announcements on our website. We're looking at least 2 holes into that, one circa 500 meters away from the old K16 hole, and one circa 1,000 meters away. So we will be announcing in a lot more detail what specifically we're doing with the initial drill holes. quite the depth. We have a certain target depth, but you're quite right, 2,600 meters over circa 6 holes. Well, of course, that may change depending on the results. We may or may not decide to continue beyond the estimated depth in certain holes. The drill rig that we're using has the capacity to go down to 1,100 meters, and that's quite deliberate. Not saying we will go down that far, not saying that we don't go down to a target depth of 500 meters and stop. We may carry on. There's a whole heap of different factors. I've said this before, that, the Mike Tyson quote, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face in the boxing ring. Well, if we get punched in the face with some startling positive results, we may well choose to continue. We might not. We'll just play it by ear. We've got a system set up in the field, Mark, that's very sophisticated, so that we will be doing the drilling. The core will be then taken for immediate processing, which is core cutting and examination, and then into storage. We've got a very secure system that we're building up. Good quality controls, which is absolutely vital for this type of program. Plenty of eyes on this one, so we need to make sure that we're doing it right. And I've really forgotten your question because I've just been waffling on. It's quite an exciting time for us.
No, good. Well, I'm looking forward to it. You've not got long to get started. We're in September, just this week. We'll be in September, and mid-September is the target start date. So, yeah, fairly rapid as promised, Paul. Looking forward to following that program when it gets started. Now, I do have some questions.
Sorry, the 2 stages, Mark, to it. The mobilization itself, the drill rig doesn't kind of magically appear in one day and it's all set up. So there has to be a build-up. We're looking, obviously, to make sure that any sensitive matters are announced to market through regulatory RNS. We will be providing the usual media support as well for investors so they can see the program. We want to carry our shareholders along with us through this exercise. It is a major program for the company. It will be nice to be able to show people as it happens what goes on and how is a drill camp built, and then see the drill rig in operation, to have a regular flow of formal regulatory news, but also the videos, the photographs, the explanations along the way as well.
Yeah, okay. And this campaign could be transformational for the company.
Yeah, it's one of the many assets within our business that has the potential to be transformational. It is a simple message that we put out a couple of weeks ago when we showed the geophysical surveys and the big conductor under K16 previous drill hole. We, people can see that we clipped the edge of it. They can see from the diagrams produced that it was just at the halo right at the very end, and that we got that broad nickel mineralization over what appears to be hundreds of meters. And the theory is we drill towards the center, the more intense area of the signal. And if we get an increase in the mineralization, then the size and scale of this suggests it could be a transformational discovery. Hence why it's worth getting on with the job. And I suspect why the drill contractor was perfectly happy to take a significant amount of compensation in shares.
Cheers. Okay, excellent. Well, thank you for that, Paul. There's a few questions that came in from the Power Telegram group. I think we've covered the length of the drilling in meters that's going to be done. I think we've also covered, the question is, why would the drill target not include the deeper, darker section far left of the conductor? But I believe you are going to be working through that, is that right?
Yeah, it does. So first hole, 500 meters away from K16, drill collar. Second hole, circa 1,000 meters away. We will, on that image that's on our website and released in the announcements, we will be penetrating the intent areas across that conductor to see what's there.
Okay. Is there a target grade to aim for? I mean, I guess probably not.
Well, major metal deposits are made up of many different things, but particularly the volume and the grade. So no, not really. At this moment in time, it looks, the conductor under K16 looks very, very significant, and it's clear we need to drill it. But we're not setting out with any specific objectives in terms of grade or volume at this point.
Yeah. Okay. A question on the uranium. With so many countries turning their attention to nuclear power, how excited is Paul about Power's uranium strategy?
Oh, well, uranium has been a significant part of our business for approaching 1 year now. And since we brought in the first Athabasca Basin interests. And also since we brought in the CELTA project that's part of the First Development Resources package in the Northern Territory of Australia. We've seen quite a dramatic shift in the last 18, 24 months, a pivot towards uranium. We're seeing that interest build up with the increasing use of nuclear power, the increasing engagement with building new power plants, the increasing recognition of a shortage of these key commodities that haven't been fully, had projects fully developed, either exploration or full-on mine development. So all the factors are in the public domain now that there is what appears to be a building storm in the uranium space that's going to potentially lead to one of those magical 2006-7 moments where there is a dramatic increase in the price of the commodity. And of course, when that happens, the price of the juniors that are focused on that commodity in whole or part tends to increase with it. I think back in 2006-7, we saw uranium go up to about $140 a pound. The predictions this time, I've seen all sorts up to $500 a pound. Well, we don't really know. Generally speaking, ultimately, hot commodities tend to beat even the highest predictions when they really get going. There is no boom like a uranium boom in terms of price movements on juniors. Many companies 10, 100 times up, sometimes 1,000 plus times up. Nickel has a similar kind of dynamic in that when it gets popular, it gets really popular and the juniors drive dramatically. And that's happening as well. So, yeah, I think uranium, our portfolio is acutely valuable, increasingly so as the days go by. We have a focus on Molopo, of course, but we have a big team, that's got real capability. We're working on all these different elements, including uranium right now.
Okay, I see as another question, Paul. So sorry to circle back to Molopo, but the question, and it's probably on a lot of people's minds, is how long is the drilling campaign going to take? When are you going to get results out?
Well, those are the two questions that I, of course, ask more than anything else, having such a large shareholding in power. And also just from a private investment perspective, that's what you want to know. Well, these deep drill programs, they take a while to do because, if you're looking at 2,600 meters, you're talking about 6 holes. And of course, that may change, as I mentioned before. It will run over, I would have thought, a number of months. The first hole, let's say it starts mid-September, we've got to go through the Kalahari sands. So I think there's circa 130 meters or so of Kalahari sands. That's quite quick. Then into the full-on drilling down to target. And target-wise, let's say it's circa 300 meters down is the top of the target. Might be less, might be more, depending on exactly where we go. Yeah, it depends on, the performance of the drill rig, the amount of time it takes to get through each section. But you're looking at a couple of weeks, I would have thought, to get down on each hole in the target zone. So it's pretty quick, in fairness. We will, from the commencement to actually getting into where we want to take a look at the core in a lot more detail, won't be a long period of time. Now, the question everyone says is, well, how do you handle that? Well, we don't know until we get down there as to what we need to do. Whether stopping holes is perfectly fine in many situations. You've got enough data. Continuing holes, if you've got something that you want to look at in a bit more depth, then that might happen as well. Either stopping or continuing isn't necessarily a good or a bad sign. Yeah, I'm sorry to say. So, people often read into these things what's not there. Do we make announcements on the way through? Well, we don't know what we're dealing with yet, so we'll take a view on that as each stage of the drill program progresses. We are, as a business, as you know, and we get criticised for sometimes, prone to releasing more updates than less, so that people can see fully what's happening. So I imagine there'll be updates quite regularly on the way through, which is what we like to do. And then, so if we're looking at the program that I would guess will run from mid-September through to the end of November in terms of covering all the holes. Certainly, we've got an expedited review, as I mentioned, process and expedited assay process. So we're not wasting any time getting the full assay results back. I doubt we'll go through all the way to the end of the program and no one will have any understanding as to what's going on, shall we say. And that feedback to market will come as quickly as we can make it once we start drilling.
Okay, and presumably if a significant result comes out, you will announce that fairly swiftly, would you?
Yeah, I tell you how it works, actually. It's quite interesting because the companies do things in different ways. But if you have significant results feeding out, then there may well be an argument to collate more data and to build things up over a period of time. Commonly, there's a requirement to provide the market with an update if material things happen along the way. But it's very difficult to judge until you get there. And we're very keen, as I say, on making sure the market's fully informed. So we'll handle it as we go. We've got a cracking team involved with this. I mean, there's some of the people, the technical people who are working with us on, hole targeting, on the process, the management of the drill campaign, the processing of all the data, the results, the confidentiality, the quality control. Quite an amazing group of people. We're really pulling this in belt and braces style. Because we recognise the significance of what we're about to do, and what we do that across our business. We've talked recently. Perhaps it's gone to the back of people's minds, but we talked about the Tarty Goldfields drill program that's underway, and the uranium work that we've been doing in the Athabasca. So we have a very kind of focused professional approach across our business.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Paul, for that update and setting out quite clearly there how that program is going to operate at Molopo and how you will keep the market updated. Looking forward to following the developments there. But for now, Paul Johnson, CEO of Power Metal Resources, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mark. Look forward to a few exciting weeks and months, I think.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.